the way this works, the in lieu fee, particularly at that size development, would pretty much have to be negotiated with the board. The right of a developer to go straight to.
Diana's shaking her head no. So.
Well, I'll finish and then she can contradict me. The right of a developer to go straight to the in lieu fee is up to 20 units, thinking that at that point you don't have the economies of scale and it might be easier for a developer to simply give the money rather than having to develop a unit. If they can develop a unit less expensively or really want to do that, then they can do that. But the in lieu kind of by right, the in lieu fee by right happens up to 20 units. Once you get up to like 76, it becomes more of a negotiated item, and the goal overall, particularly for larger developments, is we'd really like the housing. Having the county have money in a housing trust fund is less effective than actually having units on the ground. And so once you get to the higher levels, it really is weighted towards encouraging actual construction of the units.
Okay, I guess I don't read that in here, but.
And this is a discussion that we had in the groups considerably about, well, you know, is the in lieu fee like an impact fee that we, no, it's not. And we had the discussion, you never really would have to ever pay that fee. That's a decision that the developer would look at his particular development and say, okay, you know, if I've got a 10% requirement and I'm building 10 units, that's 1 unit. Is it more cost effective for me to build a single unit, or is it more cost effective for me to pay $30,000? And with the economies of scale, that goes, the building the units then becomes cheaper and cheaper because you're doing everything on a mass scale. So that was the discussions that we had in the groups about that.
Well, yes and no. That's not always necessarily the case. You can get approved for 76 unit build, but it may take several years, and you don't buy that lumber all at once and let it sit. So that doesn't necessarily play out. But if that particular applicant chooses not to build any units, then that's a $570,000 check. Okay, I just want to make sure I was understanding that. I have some concerns with the, on page 6B, market rates and the inclusionary units comparable shall be the same quality of an exterior construction. The marble countertops make sense, but there's a lot of expense that goes into the exterior as well. So if we're trying to truly make these affordable, you know, I have some concerns with that language.
One of the reasons that it came out with comparable was that the developers were very concerned about building units in their market rate development that did not look similar to the other units, because they were afraid that would downgrade the units on both sides of wherever the affordable units were. So that was something that was suggested, that yes, we would be interested in making them all look similar, but we want to be able to save money inside.
I understand, but it also goes, you can make them look similar with different materials. So I would be cautious on that, how that's worded. And then the last thing I have, and I don't want to, you don't need to do this right now, but at some point I'd like an example given on the equity sharing on how that would play out. An actual walk through an example. But my overall concerns again is, you know, it's integrated in the cost of doing business does not make units more affordable. Thanks.
Other comments from board members? I have one, page 13 of 13, Affordable Housing Trust Fund, item B. The trust fund shall be administered by an entity designated by the Board of Supervisors, which may develop procedures to implement the purpose of the fund. Example of an entity that we might utilize, or is there wording in there to eliminate the creation of a new entity? Typical Mendocino County employment opportunity. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
We wanted the language to allow flexibility. We're not talking about starting a new entity. It would be probably looking at one of the existing housing producing entities that currently exist, like CDC or something else like that. Or the county could set something up. Our concern is if the county set it up, we'd want to look at what the administrative costs of doing that were. If it could be done inexpensively integrated with something else, that would be fine. But if not, we also wanted the ability to outsource it.
But the intent for the record is to find an entity already in the housing situation to just administer a program. Okay, thank you. Supervisor.
Just to continue my stream of thought from yesterday, here we are spending a lot of time, an awful lot of time, good work by good people. To do something we're saying here is really probably, as you said, not a very big tool or not a very useful tool to deal with the problem of housing here. Some of the things about streamlining the process, developing alternative methods of building, greenhousing, all those things that might provide an increase in the stock, not only of affordable housing or very low income housing,